So probably the most unlikely of wildlife locations you could ever possibly expect to be on. Now normally I'm bringing you my videos from the coast, from woodland, from meadows, from RSPB reserves. Well, this morning we're on a busy main road and there's standing traffic all the way along it. However, we're here for a very, very important reason, and that is because this is a hotspot for Bohemian Waxwings. Now, I've done my homework, I've done lots and lots of research on locations of where the waxwings are coming in, and I've been given a tip off of this location. I'm going to say it's Crosspool. I'm going to leave it at that. I think most people will be able to identify where it is, and it's quite a well-known location, so it's not like I'm giving away a well-kept secret. At times there have been, I've just been speaking to a local resident, 30, 40 photographers stood on the footpath photographing these waxwings, so it is certainly not a well-kept secret. So I've come this morning, and just as I pulled up in the car, they were all in the tree, so I didn't use the tripod at that point. I run out of the car, crossed the road, and managed to get a couple of photographs before a sparrowhawk came in, and they've dispersed. But I can actually see them on some poplar trees at the distance behind the houses, so I'm certain that they'll come back. I've set myself up on this side of the road, and I'm on the tripod. I'm getting some lots and lots of peculiar looks from people as they're driving past. And I've got my 400mm lens, and I've engaged the 1.4 teleconverter, so I'm shooting at 560mm. And still at that distance, they're still quite a way away. So, but what I'm trying to do is the footpath on this side of the road is slightly elevated, because what you'll tend to find is most of the photographs that you see of these waxwings, they've got a clear white sky behind them, and that's because obviously most people are looking up at trees to try and get the photographs. So we're on an elevated footpath, and hopefully I might be able to get the diffused houses behind it to give a little bit of a background shot. So come along for the journey and see what I see. So if you ever come to Crosspool, which is where I've come to today to photograph the waxwings, there is a very famous resident, and a couple of the guys that were photographing the waxwings have told me about this resident, and I didn't know whether they were joking at first, because obviously people tell you things and sometimes you think, I'm not quite sure whether they're pulling my leg, but they said there is a Crosspool owl, and it's right near the school, and if you go there, it's there every single day. And I obviously looked like, I think you're kidding me here, so I googled it, and sure enough, on Google, when you put in Crosspool owl, there is photographs of a tawny owl, and there are photographs of the tree that it's in and the location. So I thought, I'll come here. There's no way on this earth that I'm going to see a tawny owl. I'm actually sat watching the tawny owl now from my car in the exact tree where they said it would be. So I'm going to get some video. I don't think I'm going to get any particularly great shots because the light isn't wonderful. But it's a very rare opportunity to photograph a tawny owl in daylight, and it's actually just sat perched in its roost where it was explained to me they would be. So check this out. So it certainly doesn't feel like a wasted visit now. It was an early start. I got over here expecting some gorgeous morning light. It's not happened. The rain stopped though, which is a plus. It's grey and overcast, but I've got to see the Crosspool owl. Wow, what an experience that was. You don't often get the opportunity to see tawny owls in the daylight unless they're a captive owl, and I've seen them at the Pastet Gauntlet Birds of Prey Centre, and I have actually been lucky enough to see one out in a woodland area, which was just a pure fluke. But this owl is quite famous. Apparently he's been around since lockdown, and that's when people first started to notice him. I think people noticed wildlife a lot more during lockdown. So he's probably here longer than that, but it was exactly where it was described. So if I've got anything decent, I'll pop it up on the screen now for you to see. So we've located the waxwing. I saw probably, I would say, about 24 waxwing in the top of a tree as I got out of the car. I knew I was in the right area because there were plenty of people here with big lenses pointing up at the trees, and that was the giveaway. I'll just wait while this car passes. However, by the time I got my camera out and crossed the road, they all flew off. And then there was a telltale sign of why they flew off. A sparrowhawk flew over, so I don't know if they'll be back for some time now. But we'll keep our eyes peeled, and hopefully I'll get some video and some pictures for you. Well, that was just sensational. A first for me. I've never seen a Bohemian Waxwing before. And they were on some poplar trees at the back of the houses, just off from where I am. And I got a little bit of video footage of them on the poplar trees, which I'll pop up on the screen now for you to see. And I thought, you know what, this is probably going to be the only thing that I'm going to see. And then they flew in, onto a beech tree just in front of us, and they kind of settled into the top of that beech tree, but you knew full well that that's not what they were there for. And just to the side of the beech tree was a rowan tree. And what they would do is they'd kind of build in numbers, and then once they reached a certain number and they gained in confidence, they would then flit onto the rowan tree, giving you just that opportunity to get some photographs of them as they were stealing berries off the tree. They did that several times, and then just out of the corner of my eye I noticed a female sparrowhawk come across, and at that point they just vanished, absolutely vanished. So I don't know if that's the last of the waxwings that we're going to get for today. Maybe, maybe not. It's worth hanging around. The light's certainly getting better all the time now, so I just hope they come back and we get another viewing. So I'm just going to very quickly talk about settings. Two things that I won't mention. The first one is I've gone from the 400 and I've now put the 2x teleconverter on, and so I've got 800 millimeters at 5.6, and I think that makes a much better range for these birds. They're quite small, about the size of a starling. And then settings wise, when they're perched, I'm probably dropping down to about 800th of a second, and then I'm very quickly increasing my shutter speed to above 1,000, at times going all the way up to about 2,000th of a second to get that static shot of when they're in flight. Because I'm shooting against a grey sky, I'm using my exposure compensation. So I've increased my exposure compensation by about 2 stops. And that just allows me then to pick out the details of the bird while the camera is metering for the bright background behind it. So it's worth using that exposure compensation whenever you're photographing a bird against a bright sky. So that was really frantic. They came in, there's quite a large number of them, 30 plus I would say, and they landed on the tree, which they tend to always land on, directly opposite. Previously they've gone to the red rowan berries to the right. This time they went to the left, where there's a tree heavily laden with a yellow berry. And actually I think they would look a much nicer picture. The yellows in the berries will probably complement the bird really, really well. However, twice now a sparrowhawk has passed through, and the sparrowhawk passed through really low level in between the houses, very stealthy. And when the waxwings landed on the tree this time, I've never seen them feed. Somebody needs a new exhaust. I've never seen them feed quite so frantically. They were literally ripping off berries, and usually I've got photographs which I'll pop up on the screen now, and you can see they take off a berry, they kind of stick their tongue out, I'm assuming they're tasting to see if it's ripe, and then if they don't like it, they discard it and they drop it down. If they do, they kind of throw it up in the air. I've got a shot with the berry just up in the air, just as it's about to catch it, and then they swallow them down whole. But it was a very different form of feeding on this bush, and I can only assume that is down to the sparrowhawk, which made it really, really difficult to photograph right then, because there's a huge flock of them. They all came in really, really fast, and then they were frantically feeding, and then off they went, and they've disappeared again. So quite challenging conditions. I think I've got a couple of shots, and if I've got anything decent, I'll pop it up on the screen now for you to see. So I'm going to probably call it a day there. We've had several showings of the waxwing, but the light today is just not optimal really for photographing. It's your stereotypical British grey day. And when you're photographing subjects such as a waxwing, what you really want is that lovely light to show off the colours that they've got on their wings and in their tail feathers. Definitely worth checking out this location. I mean, we've had a couple of surprises today. I certainly wasn't expecting to photograph a tawny owl this morning, so that was a fantastic little addition to what has been probably a little bit of a shorter video. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and consider dropping me a comment below. I respond to every single comment. And until next time, ta-ra.